thewellnesscouch.com, streaming wellness into your lives. This is Up for a Chat with Cyndi O'Meara, Carren Smith, and Kim Morrison.
Here we are, up for a chat about the hottest topics that are important to you, inspiring you to awaken the change within. I'm Carren Smith.
I'm Kim Morrison.
And I'm Cyndi O'Meara.
And we're in the presence of a spunk.
Just saying.
Oh my gosh, I haven't heard that since the 80s, since I was a lot younger.
Yeah, well, oftentimes the 80s call me and they want their language back. They also want their hair back. I don't know, I'm not going there.
I want my hair back too.
See, I'm so funny, I don't even know what to do with myself. Everybody, let me introduce you to somebody that is... I've only just really met him, although Cyndi thought we had met each other a long time ago. But we're in the presence of Marcus O'Meara. No, he's not met Lovett. Not me. He's not married to Howie. Marcus Lovett.
No, Cindy's my sister.
Got it. Marcus Lovett. Now, Marcus, from what I've heard and what Cindy's been talking about, and being Cindy's brother, I can really see the family resemblance. But I tell you what, it's like you're a rock star with everything that you've been doing, everything that you've created. And the most recent project that you've been working on is the one that I'm most familiar with, is the movie that you've made, What Ate My Mother?
Right.
And obviously that's Cindy's mother. So I'm we're all super keen to hear about that. But I think it would be like uber groovy to hear your story and all of your travels. Because just in the last 30 seconds before we came on air, Cyndi did a bit of a quick run through of all of your rock stardomnicity, and I think we all need to know about that.
Okay, first up, I'm tone deaf, so I'm not a rock star.
No, you must be then.
Maybe. Yeah, that's it. I've lost it all through the
Barbara
80s.
Streisand's tone deaf.
Is she?
Yeah, and doesn't she have the voice of an angel? Yeah, look at
Don't
that.
ask me to sing.
Oh, that's
Ready?
Oh,
Ready?
no,
Come on, Marcus, I'll sing with you. Ready?
I only do kid songs now because, I just had 2 kids, so it's like... No, but getting onto the rock stardom. I thought I was a rock star when I became a freestyle skier and was travelling the world just competing.
Oh,
so that was it, and that's when I felt I was cool. That was in the 80s when I had lots of hair, wore a headband, rollerbladed.
Oh, yeah, baby. I used to rollerblade.
They're twins.
Oh, we're twins.
They're soul brother and sister.
He's my brother from another mother, man. So you were a freestyle snow skier?
Yes.
Wowza. So how long did you do that for?
Gosh, 10 years. I would have been 10 years, and then I coached for a few years. You see, it was all this big plan. When I finished high school, I didn't, my friends wanted to be doctors and lawyers, and I thought, what do I want to do? And I went, I just want to travel the world and have a good time.
Well, that's the same story as Cyndi, I believe.
Exactly. Well, we got that same education when I was 11, Cyndi was 15. We went on a world trip. Our parents took us on a 3-month trip around the world. So ever since then, I was like, no, I just want to keep traveling. And so that's what I wanted to do. So as soon as I finished high school, a week later, I was in the States. A couple of weeks later, I had a job washing dishes at night, skiing all day.
Let's tell them why you were in the States a week after you finished high school. What did Mum and Dad give you for your birthday?
A one-way ticket to America.
That doesn't mean anything. Don't read into that.
No, I've got a son about to finish high school in a few years. You've just given me a Thermomix for Taylor and a one-way ticket for Jacob. I think it's a great idea.
To Afghanistan.
Actually, no, you know what? This is what the deal actually happened, because at the time I had a job at night while I went through last year of high school washing dishes at a Mexican restaurant, and they said, we're all going to have Christmas in America, you've got to come. And I go, well, I haven't got enough money to buy a ticket. And they hummed and hummed and went, all right, we'll buy you a one-way ticket. You just got to get yourself back.
Oh, nice.
And so I thought, right, I got the one-way ticket. And because, we have US passport because of our mum, it was just like, oh, sweet, I'll just stay there, and got a job washing dishes, skiing all day.
Oh, happy day.
Living in a car.
Oh, I only lived in the car for a little while. I did that later.
Hang on. Living in a car for a day is kind of ordinary.
It was a few weeks.
No, it was quite a while.
No, the winter. I got there at winter.
Did you shower?
Occasionally.
Okay.
Did you eat yellow snow?
Oh, that's right. I was a member at a gym. This is in summer. Look, now we're getting out of whack. I had an apartment And it was at the end of winter that the contract ran out in the apartment. I had no money left because we'd just been on a big holiday down to New Mexico and Utah, that I went, I had a car and I was given to me. And so I thought, because by a bunch of Kiwis, I went back to New Zealand.
Hey.
And so I just, it was massive. It was a Plymouth Fury 3. So if anyone knows what that is, it's like the biggest Yank tank you can buy.
And they gave it to you.
And to mind until they came back next winter. Nice. So I could sleep full length on the back of the seat of the car, no problem. And I used to drive up to the old goldfields, like way up in the mountain to sleep at night.
And what about the brushing of the teeth and?
There's a lake. You just brush your teeth in the lake. I park next to this little mountain lake.
She's a princess, Marcus. She's a princess. She has no idea.
It's so fantastic up there. You're sleeping at like 12,000 feet.
Keza, Mr. Bear Grylls.
Got it.
Yeah.
Same.
They call me Mrs. Bear Grylls.
But I tell you right now, I would have starved because I tried to fish those little mountain trout. And I thought that's how I was going to eat. Buy potatoes and have potatoes and mountain trout. I could never catch those things. Luckily, I worked in a restaurant, so I could...
You got the scraps.
Yeah.
So they do eat the meals off the plates that don't get finished.
Marcus did.
Oh, no, that's another story. That's in Switzerland when I couldn't afford to eat, but that's another story.
Marcus,
I would
love to know. You're saying that you were skiing and you were having a bit of a blast and everything, but it sounds to me like you actually got quite good. So at what level did you get to?
Well, okay, this is getting back to, I had one goal, to travel the world and have a good time. So the problem was, living in Colorado washing dishes, I don't have any money to go anywhere. So I'm skiing one resort. I'm going, this is not traveling the world. I'm having a good time, but I'm not traveling. And I went, and I got to know the freestyle skiers. And they used to go off to all these competitions all the time. And I went, that's me. That's me. I'm going to get good enough to compete. So then I started competing, just doing local Rocky Mountain events. And then traveling with the guys, and that was just Colorado, though. I know I had to get further afield. Colorado's not the world. So then got on the Australian team, came back to Australia, got on the Australian team, and then next thing, flying to Europe and then traveling around Europe.
Gee, he must have been good.
He's very good.
Oh, look at the face he goes on.
He is very good. He was good and he is really good.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And you see him go down a mountain.
He's got shine. He's even tuck his little hands in.
When you see Marcus go down a mountain, it's pretty
Is
awesome.
she good?
Yes.
Is Cyndi good?
So Cyndi is good. Now go back, a backstory to backstory. Cyndi was probably a bit of an inspiration to go skiing for the season because Cyndi did it first. She did it at Falls Creek.
Yeah.
And she worked for my business partner, who was my business partner for 15 years. She worked for their parents and they became friends, and that's how I first met him. And then we both got into freestyle together. We both competed together. Then we coached together. And then we made a TV show for 15 years together.
Wow.
Mark Stephen and I. And his mum actually inspired Cyndi to get into nutrition.
Oh, is that for real?
Yeah, and what's really interesting is that Mark and I skied quite a lot together, and Marcus would join us, and I'll never forget this one day. So Mark was an Olympic skier, and I was learning to ski with him, and so I was keeping up with him, and Marcus would just come up on occasional weekends, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I was just a grom though because
you were 15. He was like 15, a little grom, little thing,
a kid.
Yeah.
That must be an Australian thing.
So he would grom's a
surf. It's a surf.
Maybe it's a surf skiing thing.
It's just young skier surfer.
We have to take it to Hotham. We've got to take it somewhere. Anyway,
but so those guys were older. I'm chasing them around the mountain trying to keep up. And I just remember falling down the mountain all the time trying to keep up with Cyndi. So Cyndi was like way better skier than me.
Wowza.
And I always remember him saying, "One day I'm going to be better than the both of you."
True to his word.
True to his word.
I never got better than Mark.
Don't you think?
No.
He couldn't do freestyle like you.
No. I mean, he as a skier was a better skier than me.
Yeah.
As an aerialist, no.
Yeah.
So what is freestyle? Yeah. Was you going to ask the same question?
Yeah.
Freestyle skiing has evolved over time. I mean, it was born out of skiing was just ski racing. And then in the 70s, people started skiing bumps because everyone ski all over the hill, and there was just this crazy sport where they would just, like kind of like skateboarding, all these things. They just try new stuff. It was kind of the new sport. And then from that, freestyle became 3 events: ballet, moguls, and aerials. And you used to compete in all 3, and it would be the best out of all 3 of those events. And ballet, which was like ballet, you did it to music, and you did a routine down a hill with short skis, and you do somersaults, and it was like figure skating.
What?
And then you had mogul skiing, which was just skiing down the bumps, and you just had to be the most fluid down the bumps and do 2 airs. And then aerials, which was 2 jumps, where you had to do as big
jumps.
As many flips and twists as you could and hit the ground and ski off without
breaking your neck?
Yeah, without hurting.
And did you?
Oh, I did both. They hurt sometimes, and sometimes I landed and skied away.
But you never broke your neck?
No, I never broke my neck. I split some ribs, broke some fibulas.
You broke your heel bone?
Broke my heel bone, smashed my calcaneus to half its size.
This is your solid heel bone. Yeah. But, you know, what was interesting is Marcus was at the forefront of the freestyle ski circuit, and sometimes they would make jumps that didn't work. And they would do a flip and they'd end up not on the slope of it, but they'd end up on the flat of the slope, which Marcus did because a jump was not done right. Oh, because you were in the beginning, you know, you were the first at the Olympics.
And, it was. It was not like it is now. Everything's measured and the angle of the jump and everything like that. We just rock up, build a jump, hopefully it's all right. And you go up and then someone would be the guinea pig. And it gave you power when you were the guinea pig because it was just like, I'm better than all you guys. I did it and I landed and I skied away. Except this one time
at Bandcamp where that didn't quite work.
where I hit the ice and smashed my heel and I was carried away and, it didn't jump for a year. Like I was out it was like one of the worst. It's the worst pain I've ever known.
Hey, caramba.
So can I ask a little sidetrack question here? What was it like growing up with Cyndi O'Meara?
It was like fighting for food all the time, you know.
It still is.
Mum was like, the typical Midwest American mother that would cook all the time, and cook cookies and always cook dessert and pie. So it'd be like having to get home from school before Cyndi got to the cookies or I'd miss out. And it wasn't just Cyndi, it was Cyndi and her friends. And then sometimes her friends would just rock up even when Cyndi wasn't there to eat the cookies.
It's true. It is so true.
That is so true.
It is so true.
Oh, my God.
So it was a struggle for survival.
Okay, here's another question. Did you ever have a fling with one of her friends? I'm just asking.
I always wanted to.
Yeah, I wondered that.
Because they were 5 years older and they always looked at me and they go, oh, he's so cute, and pat me on the head. So, obviously I had no chance.
Just wondered what that was like having an older sister.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been cool if she was only 1 year older.
But I was nearly 4 years older and Lisa was 5.5 years older. So all the girls were a lot older.
And so, okay, a question for you. Was he like golden bollocks, being the baby, the boy?
Yeah, I got spoiled.
Yeah, I think
Is that
so.
what you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think he was spoiled and he got away with a lot more than Lisa did. And I'm like the middle child. And it was Middle Child Day.
Syndrome?
No, it's Middle Child Day. They have a Middle Child Day now.
Yeah, because they're special needs. They need them.
They don't.
So me being the middle child and Casey, my daughter, being the middle child, we celebrated Middle Child Day.
So, families of over, like Mum came from a family of 11 kids.
Yeah.
Who's the middle?
So that means there's
Steve.
9 middle kids, or there's the middle kid.
The middle kid is Steve.
Oh, okay. I thought there'd be 9 of them all the middle.
No, Steve's right in the middle.
Did you grow up with have you had the same philosophy around food and well-being and health? And obviously you haven't been immunised and all of that sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I say this all the time. I'm a victim of Cindy's last visit. So she comes in, she'll be telling us about what she's been doing and reading and how she's eating and this is what I'm into now. We're still eating the stuff that she told us about last visit. And then suddenly, these, green smoothies, and we're eating green smoothies until they're coming out our ear. And then she comes going, that's so...
It's yesterday.
We don't drink that stuff anymore.
We now do omelettes for breakfast.
Oh, my God.
So...
Oh, my gosh.
It's a bit sad, isn't it?
And, of course, Mum was fairly health conscious and
Dad
we all
was.
lived it up. But as soon as I left home, because I just absolutely love desserts, I ate desserts solid for a whole week. The day that I got out of that house, I was just like, I can eat whatever I want. I had apple pie, I had vanilla slice. I just ate dessert straight for a week, and boy, was I sick by the end of the week. I was like the hungry caterpillar. I had to eat a green leaf. And finally got back to a normal balanced diet soon after that. 1 week away from home.
I think most kids do that, though. I remember when I left home and got my first job, I went, oh, cool. I can go and buy chocolate and eat whatever I want, when I want, and no one can say no. And I remember as soon as I got my first paycheck as an apprentice beauty therapist, and I think I got $99 for my first week's pay, I went straight down to the local store, and because I was living at home, $99 worth of chocolate came home with me. Oh, and I inhaled that.
And that's $99 worth of chocolate back in the 70s, right?
No, 90s.
We'll just cut the recording now over here.
We just assume everybody is our era. That's the problem.
Marcus,
Yes, no.
So I just want to come back into you.
Yeah.
So we're skiing in America. We've now skied for Australia. Did you study in anything? Like, did you want to go anywhere with a career, or was your career skiing?
I told you, travel the world and have a good time.
Right, that doesn't include.
So how did I travel the world and have a good time? I got good at skiing so I could do World Cup. After a while of competing, you start hurting yourself.
Yes.
And I go, the coaches, they travel the world and have a good time, but they don't have to worry about competing and getting hurt and stressing out about the event. I'm going to coach. So then I coached. And so then I coached Kirsty Marshall for a while, and she was, became World Cup champion and stuff like that. And so it was pretty good, but, oh boy, coaching elite athletes is hard work. It's like having babysitting and we used to have these huge fights. It was like being married. We'd almost kill each other. And then it'd be like the next day we'd try and, work together, and then we'd all forget it, and then we'd try and kill each other again. So I thought, no, not coaching. Those TV crews, they're quite at filming. That's it. And then I don't have to go to events anymore. I can film anywhere I want. So then we did the TV show for 15 years, traveling the world, having a good time, filming TV. And then after 15 years of that, though, I was kind of like, I just need to do something a bit more deep and meaningful than just travel the world and having a good time. I still want to travel the world and have a good time. That hasn't changed, but more in a deep and meaningful kind of way. Hence the movie.
Yeah. That movie, let's talk about the movie. So what inspired you to do the movie? Explain to us what it's about, why you did it, and how long. Give us the story.
Well, I mean, obviously it came from Mum dying. And then it was very surreal, because here we are, the healthiest family in the world. Mum was going to live to 100. And there was, it was no problem. She was going to live to that age. And we all believed it. Everyone was saying how fantastic Mum looked. And then she gets sick and she's going to die. And and I look back now and it's like, instead of us all getting in there going, hey, Mum, we're going to fight this. Now, I arrived, basically in the last 2 weeks of her life.
You were there 3-4 weeks?
Well, three or 4 weeks, but the last kind of 2 weeks I was kind of the main carer.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I remember giving up. And it was just about saying to Mum, oh, yeah, it's like, it was kind of like pacifying it to die. And it's not until now that I go, that is so not us. But we did do that. And yet we had all this knowledge of health and how to get better and what we could do and stuff like that. But it was just like...
You came to terms with it.
Yeah, it was kind of like I went through the 5 stages of grief, got to, acceptance, and let's hang with acceptance. And then at one stage, I remember Mum, it was like 2-3 days before she died, she'd been calling everyone, saying her goodbyes. It was like this real, I'm on my way out, this is it, it's over. And she goes, I've changed my mind. No, I want to live.
Oh, bless.
And I go, okay, Mum. She goes, all right, get on the phone, call everyone and tell them. And I go, I'm not going to call everyone. I go, you've got to, do it first and then I'll call everyone. And then, it's kind of like this with Mum. And I mean, she'd been meeting with a Buddhist monk and she'd been talking with a priest and she'd been hedging all the bets with the religious I'm surprised I didn't see any Jewish guys there. But Mum was hilarious though on those last years. She was funny. I mean, I just remember laughing all the time. But she, gave Dad hell. But it was all this like just, okay, Mum, all right, let's just go now. Right? You want to go? Let's just go. We're all sitting around waiting for her to go.
Yeah.
And it went around my head, why? We know how it was mesothelioma, it was asbestos and stuff like that, but it was just like, but why, Mum? We all lived in the same environment. So as the ski show was kind of winding up, I wanted to do a documentary. And I was going to do about the history of Mum's family, which is the largest hemophiliac family in the world and that sort of thing. But it was kind of like, just struck a chord with me. If not everyone that breathes in a carcinogen dies of that dies, then what are the other factors that cause people's death? So you start interviewing people. And so the first person I went to speak to was a guy, Professor Henderson in Adelaide. He's the world authority on mesothelioma and asbestos-related cancer. And he goes around the world turning over court cases. And I go talk to him about it.
Okay, can I just interrupt you there? How do you just ring one of the world authorities in the world and say, g'day, mate? Just wondering if I could interview you. Is that what you did?
Yeah, that's what I just did.
How did he? So he just answered the phone?
Yeah, I mean, you just call these people. I mean, they're happy to give, to impart their knowledge. I think anyone that's got, like, a heap of knowledge, they're happy to give it over. And, I mean, it's not like he's a rock star. Not like me, I have an entourage and I have a chief of staff.
And how
he didn't have a chief of staff.
And how lucky we are to be in your presence.
Yeah.
We're just saying.
He rode his bike round.
Really?
Hey, wait a minute, I just got to talk to my chief of staff. Actually, I know I did talk to his assistant most of the time until I went to the interview. But yeah, he was happy to do it. And he was fantastic. But the one thing that they always say, they go, well, it's this, it's genetic predisposition, blah, blah, blah. And then they go, and luck. And then, so I did that. And then I spoke to Tim Crow from Deakin University, and talks about food and diet and how it plays in our health and in the prevention of disease. And speaking to him about, now I could have spoken to Cyndi about this, but I didn't. She's already in it. She already features in the film as family, and so I didn't want to make her the expert as well. So I picked someone else, and he kind of talked about it. He talks about and luck, and then actually I don't think he did say luck.
Most of them say luck though.
But Craig Hassard, who wrote. Mental blank on all these things. Dr. Craig, he's a lecturer for general practice at Monash University, and he's written a couple of books. Essential.
I can't remember.
I can't believe it. Anyway, he's in the film. Watch the film. I've mentioned the book. He, bad luck. And then I go talk to an oncologist at Royal Melbourne Hospital, and, he mentions bad luck. And it's just like, it really irked me that there must be more.
Yes.
Of all this science and all this thing, there must be more than just bad luck. And obviously there's a lot of people that think the same as me. So it's just going on, finding out, what ate mum? It's just like I lived in the same environment. I had pretty much the same diet. Mum was an active woman. I was active. There's so many similarities. Why aren't I dead? Why isn't Cyndi dead? Why isn't my dad dead? And so that's the journey. And so it was like interviewing all my uncles and aunts. We went to a family reunion. And that was another reason we were going to this family reunion. So here was an opportunity. Everyone was going to be together.
And it was mum's family, wasn't it? It was all mum's family. Yeah.
Remaining family. Yeah. Because that's another story about how all her brothers have died. And so it was great to sit there and chat with them. And since that, interviewed my Auntie Claire's died from cancer, from leukemia. Did she finally...
She had breast cancer. She had breast cancer, and then she had a liver condition, and then she had leukemia, and she passed away between Marcus filming and the movie coming out, the documentary coming out.
Yeah, because she's on the film.
Yeah, she's on the film, and then Marcus at the end says, since this time. So I
definitely had a track. Like, it was in my head too, because Mum talked about a bit of the hardship they had when they were kids, and and we're always blaming our parents or blaming stuff that happened when we were younger. We always want to blame someone. No one wants to take responsibility for the health. That's always somebody's fault, or someone can solve it. And
or they were born with it.
Yeah. So I went on this angle about Grandpa, who was a bit of a tyrant and abusive in certain ways to the family. And so all my questioning was about that, because I started the documentary, and I hear in documentary making, if you finish with the same story that you started with, you weren't listening along the way. Wow. So lucky I did listen along the way. Yeah. Because they all started saying the similar things about Mum. It's things that I didn't think of, things that were like I knew, but everyone said the same thing. Cyndi said the same thing. They all said, but not consciously really saying.
So what was that same thing?
About how Mum coped with all their deaths and was quite stoic and was quite...
martyrdom.
I called Mum the Stepford Mum. She was the Stepford wife, the Stepford mum, the Stepford friend.
Everything
Stepford
had to be perfect.
Sister, everything was perfect. And I never saw her cry as each of the brothers died. Each of her brothers died, and they all... I don't know if people know have we talked about this before? We have. So if people have been listening, that, Mum was the oldest of 11, 7 brothers, 6 were haemophiliacs. They passed from AIDS due to blood transfusions, as did 2 wives and 1 child. So we lost a huge amount of people to AIDS, but we never saw Mum cry.
No, and Mum didn't ever have a chance to grieve. Yeah. She was always in Australia. She got back to America a few times and helped with her brothers, and and in their later years. But
And maybe being the oldest too, there was an expectation on herself maybe to carry the flame,
I'm sure, like it was, and my auntie Mary put it so succinctly at the end of the film. She talks about going, when we brought up, there was 11 kids, and there was a farm to run, and you didn't have time to sit down and talk about your feelings, and so you weren't. She said we weren't told to hold it in. It was just you just didn't do it. It wasn't expected to talk about it. Let's just keep going. Let's just keep the the ball rolling.
Stiff upper lip.
Yeah.
Carry on.
Almost English.
No, because there was one part in the film that
I already know what it's about.
yes, you're quite openly discussing the fact that it's important to relieve oneself. Tell us your point in that whole side of that, Marcus. That was quite interesting.
If you don't use it, you lose it.
Yes. And what were we referring to? Let's explain to Kaz.
Carren hasn't watched the movie.
So I talk about supplementing your sex life.
Let's just say, before you go any further, Karen's favourite line is, if she can't...
You must... No. Must this go on air?
If you can't swallow and chew it, it ain't going in her mouth.
No. If you're going to say it right. I don't put anything in my mouth I can't chew.
Or swallow.
No, I don't say anything about the swallow. See the skanky one over here.
Right.
Swallow this.
I'm not even talking about that.
Oh.
You just egged her on.
Yeah, I know.
Well done, Kim Morrison.
That's all I'm talking about masturbation. I'm not talking about
Oh.
oral. Although it all helps.
I don't think
He
you
says
guys
it on the
mind.
film, and I just go, oh God.
I know, and my wife wanted to take that out. And I said, no, you got to put something a little bit saucy in there. It can't just be plain
People
boring.
remember that part.
People remember.
Yeah, I know.
Obviously they do.
I just remember sitting there going, wow, he really is admitting to being a wanker. Oh my God.
I have no problem. No, they say, like for health reasons, right? Okay, your sperm is optimum 2 to 4 days, right?
Yes.
So if you ejaculate every day, your sperm's crap and you're not going to get pregnant.
Right.
So not saying I'm trying to get anyone pregnant right now.
Right.
I've got my 2 kids. We're happy. It's about you. So a healthy body needs to move. Now there's some people are totally against this. Like there's some Buddhist thing about keeping it internal and that sort of thing, which I know nothing about. Tantric, yeah.
Tantric.
So I don't know anything about that. But let's say in Western world.
Everybody's shaking their head. No, we know nothing about that. No,
Yeah.
no.
But in the Western world, it's like you should ejaculate 3 times a week at least.
Right.
Round about that, give or take.
Right.
So...
What do you mean you give and he take? What was that? Oh, sorry, the number.
The amount of days,
Sorry.
Frequency.
Right, you are.
So if sperm works optimum every 2 to 4 days, pick 3 days. So every 3 days, make sure you ejaculate, replenish, and keep it all going.
Right.
And you should be able to keep doing that until you're 100, until you die.
Here's another question for you then on that level. So as a top skier, because when my husband played sport for New Zealand, played cricket, so there was this whole debate around men whether they should or shouldn't before they do a big performance.
Same thing, boxers, yeah.
So what's your feelings on that one?
There was something just done recently. Oh, the World Cup, soccer.
Yes.
They talked about some of the teams that were to abstain from sex. Didn't say abstain from masturbating. They could have been, going crazy with their mobile phones every day. But it was abstaining from sex, which depending on, if you're going for the 3-second win, then I'm sure that's good for you. But going for a 2 hour with several groupies is not going to help your performance next day. But they found that the teams that weren't told to abstain, won. They did better. The teams
is that right?
Yeah, I can't remember which teams were told to abstain, but they didn't make it through.
You got to wonder. It's just that's a little bit like. People who what's that correlation that Steve always talks about? People who get eaten by sharks or get attacked by sharks eat ice cream. That's the it's a correlation versus.
Yeah, we all eat ice cream.
Yeah, we all eat ice cream. We go to the beach, and those people, then it's just this thing that.
I don't see that there is any There's no correlation.
Well, I thought it was interesting, and I'm not sure whether I should disclose.
Because imagine,
this.
like, if you need stress relief, like you're tense before an event.
know.
I think it'd be a great idea.
Well, what was interesting when I did some work with the New Zealand All Blacks, the players'
That wasn't your
partners
job for the All
program.
Blacks, was it?
I wouldn't have minded that job. Oh, I'm your relief therapist.
Anybody requiring some services?
But there was a whole thing in LA. That's the thing, the relief massage, which ends with a happy end.
Happy ending.
I mean, we're talking about...
But I just know.
Yeah, but this is really important. This is really important because we're going to get.
They had the players, and it was the same in the New Zealand cricket team. The players would stay in one hotel, and when the wives and girlfriends turned up, they'd all stay at another hotel. They decided to keep the players and partners separate, and it was same in our era. At the beginning of the time when I was involved with Danny at the beginning of his career. And
Cricket?
Yeah.
Like they're like running, They don't do anything. They stay out there in the field with a...
Yeah, but Danny's the bowler.
Oh, okay.
And the bowler runs.
I take offence to that. Anyway.
I guess they're out in the field all day.
My point is this, what is really funny, is if you went, when we all would go to breakfast the next day, none of the boys were in their hotel. They were all at the girls' hotel. So it was ridiculous.
Funny.
And I think that's when both probably the New Zealand Rugby Union and obviously the New Zealand Cricket Council, they all decided that rather than actually saying that you had been separate hotels, what I think they all came to the conclusion was that you weren't going to stop this happening. But then they started just putting time limits on when the girls and wives could turn up, which I understood. You wouldn't be there at the beginning of the tour. The girls could turn up towards the end of the tour and all that sort of thing. But it is a fascinating conversation that's always on, whether someone or not performs better or with that. And I don't know what they're saying for women, but it was an interesting point in your movie. That's why I brought it up, that I just thought it's something that we don't talk about very easily.
Oh, no, exactly. And then in some religions, obviously, it's not the done thing.
No.
So if you're Catholic, you shouldn't be doing that.
Is that right? Catholics aren't allowed to do it.
I'm allowed to masturbate.
I didn't know that.
Cindy,
Shame.
you've
No wonder
neglected your Catholic.
You're going to your perjury and hell and whatever the other thing is.
What is it? I have to go to purgatory, limbo, or hell. I won't make it to heaven.
So you did... Oh, okay, very
No, I
interesting.
didn't know that. I didn't know that was one of... Because I haven't done anything with the Catholic Church for ages, but I didn't know that was one of their policies. And you know what? They probably thought the boys were doing it, not the girls.
Why, yeah, and I think they probably hammered us as young boys at school when they worry about the girls.
I never heard that. I reckon they must have been telling the boys and not the girls. Yeah. So
I'm surprised they won't tell you, make sure you put out all the time for the boys because they've got to keep healthy.
Actually, Marcus, we were talking before about your theories. It seems we're talking about sperms and things like that. We were talking about your theory about how you got a boy and got a girl.
Are you going to bring that up?
No, I actually think it's really interesting.
Okay, I just want to start this with, if you believe it, it's true. Now, the thing is, this theory, I believed it.
And it
worked for me, and it worked. So,
So there's no science to
there's
it.
no science. Well,
But didn't you
I
read a
did
book?
read up a whole bunch of things about it. And it doesn't make sense saying warm balls and cold balls makes boys and girls because, what about people living on the equator? They still have, boys and girls. But it's the environment that you're in. So for me, and this is just a personal observation too, of all the athletic friends that I had, they all had girls. And they all wore tight underwear. People that I knew that wore boxers all had boys. And it seemed to be, and I know there's exceptions to the rule. There's heaps and it's a 50-50 chance anyway on all this. Yeah. So I went with the theory going, all right, I want a boy first. So I went, all right, get rid of all tight underwear. Or actually, I didn't wear any underwear that summer, that year. No underwear, and bang, had a boy. As soon as he came out, then it was like tight and backward, tight joints, keeping them up close to the body. And bang, had a girl. Wow. It was a 50-50 chance.
That's his theory. What about
That's
twins?
his theory.
Maybe you should alternate days if you wanted one of each in the twin. I'm just putting it
I don't know if I thought twins was a genetic thing, but there seems to be more people having twins or do IVF. I think that's
I was going to say probably because it's coming through IVF.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've spent quite a bit of time on that. Have you had enough of that?
Yes, I've had enough of that. Yes, quite. He is my brother.
Oh, I just realised that.
Yeah, exactly.
That kind of grossed me out a bit, actually.
Oh, you're a spunk, though. It's all right for us. We can carry on.
Yeah, you can carry on.
Marcus, so then further on into the movie, what I loved about the movie is you kept coming back to the question, what ate my mum and will it eat me? What I took from it, because I kept wondering where the movie was going, and I think anyone should watch it. It's a fantastic documentary, because for me it questions things. Like, it makes you question how you are, because you've also had, both of you, your sister passed away from cancer, and yet you are a really healthy family. Now, I remember moving over here to Australia when your mum and your sister both passed away, and it was interesting that I was here for Cyndi during that time. And I remember Cyndi struggling a little bit for a while there, thinking, how can I carry on telling the world to eat well and be well when I've just lost 2 of my family members to cancer?
And see, that's what it's all about. I mean, food is not the end. Sorry, it's not the end all and be all of health.
I agree.
I agree.
But we were brought up that chiropractic was the end all and be all of health. All you had to do was be adjusted, keep the spinal cord straight, to keep all your nerve supply running, and you'll be right. You don't have to worry about anything else in life. Just get adjusted and be straight. Yeah. And then it was kind of like, oh, well, wait a minute. Diet plays a role, which was much later. Actually, we still lived on that theory of that chiropractic adjustment solved everything. And it did for me, because I believed it. It was true. And,
But the advantage that we had was that Mum was an amazing cook. She cooked everything from scratch. That was our advantage, even though we believed that it was chiropractic that did it all, and that was the belief that we were given. We were still eating really well.
Yeah, we were eating well, but I was, since I left home, eating desserts and then, eating McDonald's and KFC and all that sort of stuff.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought so.
I did a road trip across America once, driving across,
Marcus,
and I had this goal that we were going to have it for breakfast, lunch and dinner. And I remember, on the 3rd day, no, McDonald's, no. And I don't think we ever ate McDonald's again.
Well, there's that film, that guy that ate it for...
Supersize Me.
Yeah.
My kids never wanted to go to McDonald's again after that.
He's done permanent damage to himself.
Has he?
That.
Yeah, I actually thought he passed away.
Oh, no, he's still...
No,
Well, somebody
Quick tweet that and...
tweet that.
I'll start a rumor.
But that was fascinating. But this is why I wanted to talk to you about your documentary. For me, documentaries are a way of expressing what we may be learning and feeling ourselves. But the beautiful thing about a documentary, particularly something like yours that's so personal and so open, and a lot of the documentaries out there now are expressing a lot of our thoughts and feelings, but they're allowing other people to understand how we're thinking and feeling. So it's creating what I'd call a community of like-minded thinkers who don't know how to say it or don't know how to express it. And by you bringing in experts plus experience, I just think that documentaries are a fantastic way to express that. And I really got a lot from your documentary.
And the documentary in its own way was my way of grieving. It was my...
I was going to ask you. Yeah, of course.
Of course, it was my therapy. It was definitely my therapy. And definitely helped.
Did you answer the question? What ate my mum and will it eat me? Did you manage to answer the question?
Yeah, that question is answered, and the difference in me to my mum that make me survive. Actually, I ended with, my goal is to become a centenarian. But when I first filmed it, I said centurion. And I left it. No one picked it up. And I almost sent it off to the finished product with me saying, and I hope to live to be a centurion. And then, and then I just realized, oh my gosh, no one's picked it up. So I had to refilm the end and go centenarian because I'm not, a Roman soldier. But, and I don't want to be a Roman soldier.
But you are a rock star.
So I can wear the girdle and the sandals as much as I want. The point, I have a goal to be a centenarian. And so what was different to Mum, and this is research done in universities at London, King's Medical Clinic in London, and even in the big one in Baltimore. One of the other big universities.
Yale, Harvard, no. What's in Baltimore? I don't know. Yeah.
John Hopkins. Medical Centre in John Hopkins. They've done that, but they don't promote it. I spoke to them about their research, and they said, no, it wasn't a big enough study that we don't want to put our name to it. Because they said, send me a picture of your university so I could stick it in their documentary. And they're kind of, no, just leave us out of it. They go, fine.
Oh, really?
Fine, I won't talk about you. Scratch that. Actually, just interesting I want to talk about, I wanted to speak to Peter Mac, which is one of the leading cancer hospitals in the world. And a third of that hospital is psychology and psychiatrists. So I thought, these guys would be fantastic to talk to. So I'm calling up going, so what sort of therapy do you do, like about emotions or mental state for your patients? And they go, well, we don't do that.
It's just not a holistic approach.
Oh, no. It's just like, we're just palliative. So they've got this whole psychology department, and it's just palliative care. It's about them dealing with, you're going to die, or talking to the family, she's going to die. And it's patting them on the back and going, you're going to die. It's not about, all right, can we heal this person? Can we find out what's disturbed them, what issues? And it's a well-established fact about, if you have struggle with grief or anger and all the different cancers that come from that. And there's more and more research being done on that. And a lot of time it's just, it's hippie stuff. Nobody wants to. But there is research being done on it.
Well, people that follow Louise Hay, I mean, she brought her book out, was it in the 70s or the 80s?
Yeah.
You can heal your life.
Yeah.
And she wrote in there, cancer, deep resentment, anger, grief, fear. So that's what she believed was, or she said was the
body parts.
emotional.
And same with, the lungs. And the research from King's Medical Centre, they said basically, if you have a loss and correspondingly don't deal with that loss, so that loss may not be a death, it may be, split up in a relationship or whatever, but you have a big loss, you'll have the same chance of getting a lung-related cancer as smoking. Wow. So, and how they come up with that, I've got no idea. Got smarter researchers than me. But, so that's mum had a lung-related, and she had a problem with grief. She didn't grieve. She held it in. And it's so important. So, what I've learned is that you've got to run with all your emotions. You just don't want to be happy all the time.
You got to release.
You got to release
on many levels.
So the answer
not just your emotions.
So the answer to the question then, what did you find definitively?
I'm a lot more emotional than my mother.
Is that what it is? That you're more expressive?
Yeah, I'm more expressive.
Yeah.
But saying that, it's not a definitive answer. I haven't got like the panacea that's going to solve everyone's life. Yeah. It's just that is the difference. Yeah, and now let's work with that difference and
because throughout the movie you talk about the similarities of all of you, particularly yourself with your mum, about the activity, the ate the same food, lived in the same environment, like everything was the same and it kept going. But what ate my mum and will it eat me? And at the end of the movie that's the one difference that you had with her, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So when the researchers said, it's this and it's that and it's this and it's that and then it's luck.
Yeah.
A couple of months ago we did a podcast with Steve, Cindy's Steve, and we were talking about research and scientific research and, all the PhDs and all the scholarly study. And the question that I raised with Steve was that there's a part that science is only just starting to really explore now, which is consciousness and awareness. And there's that part that science, the scientist knows that he's aware, but because he can't measure it, he says he's not. So that part is almost as if that's the part that can't be measured. So if we can't measure that, let's put it to the side and let's just measure this physicality of what we can. And then we'll say that that's what the reality is. Long way around to my question, but did you find the kind of answers that you got to your question were more scholarly based rather than holistically based?
I definitely went on the track. I didn't want it to seem like a hippie video.
Sure.
Right? There's a lot of videos out and they're great and they have great information. They've got these great people that are healing people and they're fantastic. But I didn't want to go
Got
that
to get the science behind it.
I just wanted to do a story that was my story and talk to people that are experts in science, because everyone's going on about evidence-based. Everything's going to be evidence-based and stuff like that. And it's like they discount, thousands of years of Chinese medicine. They discount thousands of years of all the other medicines that have been done. And modern medicine's only been around, not even 100 years. And
not even that,
not even 100 years. And they're basing their whole, It's a crazy world that we're living in it right now. But obviously what we're doing now is not working.
Because science is missing the emotion. And the emotion, and it's the psychological part or the emotional part.
But they do. The scientists are picking up on that. You know,
now.
Yeah, for sure. Because when they do a test, whenever they do like any sort of test, you've got to do a double blind test because what if the researcher, if he knows what it is, then he may influence the person as they're taking, you know, the placebo or whatever. Yeah. So it's kind of like they know that all this affects. In fact, and it's pretty obvious. I mean, you get to the end. If you had a perfect emotional character or perfect attitude, you probably could eat whatever junk food you wanted. You could probably, you know, do the worst things in your lifestyle, not exercise, do nothing, and you probably will live a long time. You know, is my theory. I'm just, you know, saying out there. But the problem is, it's almost impossible to have it perfect. You know, if you're driving along in Melbourne, traffic jam, you get, bastard, you know, just
very rude taxi
drivers, you know, you just, you know, all these little things, they just throw you all the time. So, and, you know, and that's why they talk about, I mean, the panacea really is being mindful of your emotions and meditation. If you're just, and I've just noticing it having a toddler and they just drive you up the wall and you're yelling at them and you find yourself getting really angry and then it's just like, I go, now, why am I angry? So being mindful of why am I angry? And it's because I'm losing control and it's my problem and it's not nothing to him. It's just like, he doesn't know any different. And so it quickly brings me down and I come, you know, I'm calmed down pretty quickly, but I'm still, you know, that anger still spikes. So it's just more and more because although we're born with our emotions, because our emotions are what save us, and they've got it down to, there's only 4 emotions, and all the rest come off those 4 basic emotions, which is fear, happiness, sadness or grief, and anger, and everything's off that. So you're born with those to help you survive. Fear, obviously, to run from, you know, things that are wrong, and anger is, you need anger to create change. If something's not right, you've got to get angry about it to create change. You just don't want too much anger. And then you need sadness. You need to reflect. You need to look back and, okay, what have I done wrong here, or what's going on? How can I improve things? And then obviously happiness to know what we're living.
So love isn't mentioned.
Yeah, love's not in there.
Well, love is...
It's happiness.
Love is...
Of happiness, maybe?
Yeah, but is love an emotion? And then it comes down to, you know, love is all those things.
Right.
Don't you get angry at your partner? Haven't you been angry yet?
Never. No.
Yeah,
He's
never.
quite perfect.
He's quite perfect.
I love, you know what I love?
She's the Stepford wife, this one. She is definitely the Stepford wife. Don't you agree?
So I'll answer the question, absolutely yes.
But what Dad always says, the opposite to love is not hate.
It's fear.
It's indifference.
Oh, indifference.
So if you don't care about something that keen, you don't...
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's the opposite to love. It's not hate. Hate, there's so much passion and there's a lot of love in hate.
That's so true. Oh, my God.
It is indifference.
Well, a lot of love and anger, I should say, not hate.
Yeah, love and anger.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy doing the movie?
Oh, for sure. You know, it made me cry all the time.
Yeah.
In fact, every time watching it, it would cry, and sometimes talk about it, I kind of get choked up, and especially with my Uncle Steve. And my Uncle Steve had a lot of problems dealing with the deaths of all his brothers. And he finally did, you know, he went and saw a therapist, and finally now, you should see him in the video. You saw he just releases his emotions, you know, but he had that bottled up for a long time. Wow. And it was his wife, who was a nurse, said, "You got to see someone. We can't live like this anymore. You've got to see someone."
I think
and
that's
he's
the key
really
to
happy
it.
to talk about it.
The key to it too is sometimes if we're brought up in a certain way or a certain environment, or you had your parents to role model off and your mum for all that time, do you think she taught you how not to be by being that way? Or were you even aware? Were you guys emotional creatures when you were younger, or did you just get on?
You know what's weird? Our dad is
Flatlined.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't peak too much above or below. You know, he does, nothing perturbs him, but he's just
Is that good? I mean, he's still going.
He's 80.
He's 86
or 87.
Will he make
this
100?
year.
Do you think he'll make 100?
I don't know.
You say he's even toned, even keeled, but I look at him compared to your mum, and I didn't know your mum for very long, but she was the perfect Stepford wife, and I would never have known how she was thinking or feeling. But your dad seems very expressive. He seems quite jovial and happy.
Yeah, I mean, Dad, but okay, Mum was, if you played cards with Mum, she'd be jumping out of her skin if she got a good hand. I mean, you could always tell playing Mum, you know, I talk about it. Mum, it was like she expressed joy. Unbelievable. Like, it'd be like, you know, we'd see something, a balloon, a hot air balloon. We'd go, oh, there's a balloon. She goes, oh, there's 2 of them. I'm so excited. My mum was very, very excitable.
Yes.
She
what
just,
was
the grief, she just didn't.
Was she sad
handle
ever?
grief.
No.
I think she hid any sadness.
Yeah.
Was she
I
angry
don't-
ever?
No.
I've seen her angry.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, you'd seen her angry, with Lisa. She was always like button heads with
Oh,
Lisa.
that's right. Oh, that's right. Do you remember? Do you remember when Lisa got pregnant? Like Lisa got pregnant, unwedded Catholic family, and Marcus and I are out by the pool, and all we can hear is screaming in the house. Yeah. And Marcus is going to me, "What's happening?" Because he's only, I don't know how old you were, 14, 13. Yeah. What's happening? And I went, I think she's pregnant. I don't know what I was thinking to say this to a young, brother. I think she's pregnant.
I
guess she did.
Yeah, she expressed anger, and she would get angry with people.
So then your point in the movie about emotions was the difference.
Yeah.
If she expressed happiness and she expressed love, and
her grief is the
was
difference.
exactly
Her ability to express grief is the difference between. Right. I've had the opportunity to express grief. Actually, with my sister's death and mum's death, we all spent a week together, the whole family, and we talked about it. And we didn't just, it wasn't a long way away, and I had to try and deal with it on my own. It was really a fortunate thing that we're all together. And, sharing grief is grief halved.
They say pain turned outward is self-expression, and pain turned inwards is cancer.
And I think, I think about Mum, and, one by one, each one of those boys died, and she was the oldest. She had nurtured them. And the first to die was our Uncle Tommy, and he was my age. So he died at the age of 11. And then eventually, they all passed away. But, when I saw Mum at her most vulnerable was when my grandmother died, and Marcus and my grandmother died the year that Mum died. So in that 12-month period, we lost Grandma, Mum and Lisa. So 3 generations of women gone. And I remember when Grandma died, Mum was distraught. She cried. She said, I'm now the matriarch of the family, and she took that on hugely because we were a huge family. So she took that on, and then I said to her, Mum, do you want to go to the funeral? And she said, no, I don't want to go. I don't want to go to the funeral. And I went, why don't you want to go to your mother's funeral? She says, I don't think I can do it. And then just after the funeral, Lisa got sick, like our sister got sick. And then, Mum went into frantic mode trying to cure her. Yeah. Didn't she?
I mean, it got down to that point because she'd watched her own mother watch all her sons die. Yeah. And it's like we've said this, that Mum didn't want to watch her own daughter die.
No.
So it's like Lisa gets diagnosed with cancer, and then Mum gets diagnosed with cancer and quickly dies before Lisa has a chance to die.
Right.
Yeah.
How did you two cope with all of this?
Because, that year was the year that Grandma died, our dog died, Steve Irwin died, my girlfriend died from cancer, Betty died, which is Howard's, mother died, Mum and Lisa, So we lost a lot of people that year. And, I kind of think I was in a bit of a vortex. It was just like, I remember when Betty died, she was the last to die, and Howard said, I'm over this death thing. But I don't know, I seemed to cope okay. I grieved through everyone. I cried for a year after it. Every day. I would take the kids to school. I'd be left in the car by myself. From the time I left Matthew Flinders till the time I got home, which was 11 kilometres, I cried the whole way home. As soon as I got home, I was fine. And I did that every day for probably 12 months. So that was my grieving. I grieved by myself in the car without anybody else around. But it seemed to help. And plus, I think the reading of books and getting a better understanding about death and dying and the whole process. I actually think for me it was, I look back now and can I say it was a positive part of my life that I learnt so much?
You said that to me. Like someone asked you after Mum died, was it a positive experience? And your first reaction was, well, what do are you talking about? And then you thought, well, actually, it was a positive experience. And actually, I love funerals, not like, like weddings.
Oh, honey, do you ever go to the wrong one?
No. I always make sure I know the people at it.
Kim goes to the wrong ones.
Oh.
Yeah, no, that's not a story.
That's not true.
That wouldn't be so much fun. But I look at it as a funeral as a celebration of the person's life. You're not going there like we did for Lisa. You know, we had a big party.
We had a party.
And it's, one of the few times that you get everyone together. And it's such a fantastic time and to talk about them and think about your own mortality.
Yeah.
And
So what about you now, Marcus? Where you are now, you've got two beautiful a baby and a beautiful little boy. What's it all mean to you now? Where are you at now? And what's next?
well, we can die at any moment. So, I mean...
Travel the world and have a good time.
And that is exactly right. Live in the moment and travel the world and have a good time. You know, sure, I have like my dreams and goals and stuff like that, but no, it's mainly just live in the moment, especially when you've got a 2.5-year-old. There is no other moment. Except right then.
And a 3-week.
And a 3-week-old. Well, there is no, it's a weird moment. But, you know, and so my whole life's kind of just starting again, it feels like for me. So I just turned 50. And a week after. A week after Frida was born. So it's kind of like I'm 50, and it was always like a big 50 was going to be my big big year. But I didn't get to go and party or do anything. I had a bit of tequila with the midwife. You know? that was my party. But I had this plan on hiring a jumbo and getting all my friends and flying to a castle and doing track days at Nuremberg and the Saxon Ring, and doing all these sort of things. But it ended up, no. And then I thought, well, okay, I'll go heli skiing in New Zealand. That was the next plan at Aoraki. But just because the birth was coming, that wasn't going to happen. Then I thought I was going to go to Bounce. You know Bounce, the trampoline centre? Oh, I love that place. Anyway, go to Bounce with a few mates and have some party pies afterwards. But no, that didn't happen.
It's just tequila with the midwife.
Tequila with the midwife.
Marcus, Kim asked the question, how did we cope with that? And I'd like to go back, and we didn't get your answer to how did you cope with Mum and Lisa and Grandma dying in that year?
You cope with anything. I mean, everyone copes. It's like, it's a weird thing.
It's a funny word.
It is, because you go, like, how'd you cope? I go, well, you just do, you know. I mean, people die.
Yes.
You know,
We're all going to die.
We're all going to die. Yeah. So I'm not, worried about it. It's more sooner than later. I think the shock for me is that when, like, Mum died way too soon. Lisa, whole story, I thought she was going to die 10 years beforehand. So she's not been well for so long. So when it was kind of like this peace.
It was actually a relief.
It was a relief for Lisa. Mama was just confusing because it was someone who had a goal to live forever.
How long after did they pass that? Did you start the film? How long did it take for you to go? That's what
years.
They've been gone 9 years.
9 years. I started, so 7 years. 6 years, started thinking about it when we went on the family reunion was the start of it, actually, when I kind of interviewed you and we went over and interviewed everyone, and then I went, all right, now I've got a story. Because, after making the TV show, I wanted to make documentaries and films. And so films with, a good message and starting with the documentary, because I had no finance, it's first-time documentary maker, I thought, well, I've got all the equipment, I've got everything, I'm just going to do a low budget that I can do. So make sure I can film it all. I don't have to employ anyone. I can take my time making it. And I lost what the question was. What was I saying? So how did I cope?
Yeah.
Jeez, we really went off.
That's how he copes. He avoids.
No, but how I cope is I make a documentary.
But that is very cathartic, though, that when you're ready, you'll go down the rabbit hole with it and investigate. Why it happened and how it happened. And then at that point, you can probably make sense of it, because at the time that it occurs, it's just such a shock. It's just like so unbelievable.
Yeah. But it wasn't until I was asked to write a story for mesothelioma.com, which is a US website about people dying from asbestos-related cancers. And they asked me to write the story, and that's when I kind of realised that, I just really was annoyed with ourselves, how we treated Mum's death. It was like we were like the Peter Mac Centre. We weren't there to help. We were just there to help her die.
See, isn't that funny? Until you said that at the beginning of this podcast, I didn't realise that that's what we did.
That's what I felt like we did. But it's not saying I don't regret. I don't think we've done something wrong. It's what Mum wanted. Mum, I don't know why she decided to check out, but she checked out. Well, we've said that, Lisa was dying. And so it's just like, well, we're just there to give you what you want.
Help with the transition.
Because I remember there was a whole group of us around, and Mum was laying on the couch, and so I decided to go and just spend some time with Mum on the couch, and I just said, Mum, have you thought about dying? She would not talk to me about it. And when I spoke to Dad about it, I said, Dad, in your quietest moments in your bedroom, when you were laying together, did Mum ever say, when I die, I want you to, go and find somebody else, or I want you to look after the children, or, even though we're adults, but in your quietest moment, did she ever talk about her death? And he said, no. She refused to speak about it.
And in those last weeks of her life, she gave Dad so much grief.
Did she?
Oh, yeah, Dad could do nothing right.
Wow.
I had to do everything. It was just like she wouldn't let him do anything. Dad would try and kind of get close, and Mum just was, as they say, that you hurt, just as you're checking out, you hurt those people closest to you. But yeah, and I really felt for Dad, and I'm sure Dad it was a relief when Mum finally actually died.
Maybe
because
that's
those last few weeks
but
was
maybe
just
that's
so hard on
normal.
Dad.
And maybe that is because sometimes even as families, when someone's leaving or going overseas, often you'll have a breakdown or, an argument or something over something, and it makes it easy to say goodbye. Like people do these strange things to one another when they don't want to face the fear or the pain or the hurt of leaving each other. So maybe that was just her way of making it easy for him to be relieved she'd gone.
But then I have a question that's just coming into my head now that I've never even thought about. Was Mum happy in her marriage?
Well, yeah, and then I was thinking about that as Kim was saying that.
Yeah.
Was she really happy? Because, as we said, Mum kept this stiff upper lip and kept up this stepward wife kind of appearance. So,
and I've never even thought about that before. I always thought Mum and Dad were the perfect...
We always thought they were perfect. Lisa didn't think that.
No, Lisa never thought
it's funny. We all have the same upbringing, but Lisa looks at our...
have
a different perception of our upbringing than
Lisa reckoned she had the childhood from hell, and Marcus and I thought we had a fairy tale.
We thought we had happy days. We thought we were happy hands.
Brady Bunch, whatever. No, we had it.
So, Marcus, where can people get a hold of your documentary? How can they watch it?
Well, they can buy it from Changing Habits. But they can also watch it online or they go to the website, whatatemymum.com.
Whatatemymum.com.
And if you're American, MOM, it'll still take you to whatatemymum.com.
Okay, great.
I got them both.
Good on you.
And they're right there. You can watch the teaser, and then you can download it.
And Changing Habits has this solid, like if you want to buy the DVD. A lot of people don't want to download. They want, the solid version. Well, we have the DVD.
And if you're a Food Matters...
Yes, that's right. Food Matters.
Yeah, be out there. Got Food Matters TV. Well, then you can watch it with your subscription with Food Matters.
That's true. Yeah.
And so, what's your intention with it? Is it just out there now, getting a life of its own, or what's your intention with the movie?
It's a lot more than the documentary, because I see this as the first of 3.
Oh wow!
So the second one will be a lot more objective.
Yeah.
And so it won't be my personal story anymore. It'll be just talking about emotions.
Right.
So what are emotions?
Yeah.
And how important are emotions to our health?
Yeah.
And then the third one will be how to have healthy emotions.
Cool.
Which, as I said, if I want to say basically is be mindful of your emotions and meditate. But there's more to it than that.
Yeah.
So that'll be the third one. And then in the meantime, I guess I'm trying to make myself the conduit for emotional health.
Yeah.
So, get all the experts together and get them, and hopefully, I can do more than just, films and maybe conferences or books or things like that.
Fantastic.
So, there's lots in the pipeline. This is kind of just the first intimate personal story.
And I think we're primed and we're ready for it. Because I think people now, there's this great groundswell of people who are really waking up to the fact that our emotional health contributes massively to our physical health. And we don't necessarily put a lot of attention to it because we're too busy running up hills and lifting kettlebells.
Yeah, but I think it's still a big step because, it was always there. You go back 100 years ago, that's how they heal people. And now it's just like it's been taken out. Yeah. And there's lots of people that have still been carrying that torch. And it's been, it's been a and this is one thing I don't want with my film, to go to preaching to the converted. It's no use talking to people that already explore, who know Louise Hay. They'll look at me and go, oh, it's so passé.
I don't think they would.
Oh, I think some do. But I'm trying to get more, here I'm just a regular, I'm a regular guy, I'm a stunt actor. So I'm like this.
He's a flippin' rock star.
We didn't talk about the stunt acting, did we?
No.
But so, like, I'm just a stunt actor. I'm not some hippie guru or anything like that. I'm just, a guy that likes to ride motorbikes and, travel the world and have a good time. And so that's where I'd like to do it, and to make people mindful of their emotions.
Very cool.
Can we just finish on one thing? And I found this absolutely fascinating when we were talking the other day, Marcus, is that the two things that you say to do is be mindful of your emotions and meditate. Would you like to tell everybody when you meditate? This is...
Not while you're... I'm just asking.
I'm sure everyone else listening was thinking that same thing.
No, this is amazing. I was really blown away.
I put Nelson to sleep. So I go through the whole routine, bath, brush your teeth, get him in bed, read a whole bunch of books. And then when we go, I read the last book, I have it on my phone, and it does a little bell, ding. And Nelson knows I'm meditating too. So I say, okay, we're going to meditate now. And go to sleep. And then he obviously just goes to sleep, but he won't go to sleep until he hears the ding. And then I just do my meditation as he goes to sleep. And then I get up after.
You did 12 minutes, don't you?
Oh, I try to do 15 minutes morning and night.
Yeah.
But now I've got 2 kids.
It's getting
to find that time. So I know I can get 12 minutes in there, and I probably could stretch that to 15 minutes back out.
Is it transcendental meditation or?
Well, TM talks about doing 15 morning and night, and I kind of go with that. No, I don't have any set thing. I've kind of read a whole bunch of things about it, and I try different things.
Yes.
But it's basically just trying to turn off for 12 minutes. Concentrate on my breathing. I'm a fan of, and it's not that he's ever talked about Rupert Sheldrake, who wrote The Science Delusion, and just about how that we're atomic, the matter, and, so I try and think that I'm like little atoms. And so atoms have energy, and energy connected to our thoughts and minds and emotion. So I just try to get down to that and try to think about atoms in the universe, how it's all the same. But
that's awesome.
That's kooky.
That's not at all. That's very cool.
I just think, he's busy with 2 kids, 2 little kids. And he told me this the other day, and I just thought, you can meditate at any time. There's no excuses, is there? There's no excuse not to do it. Even with 2 kids, you're getting that 12 minutes at least. And you're teaching, you're teaching your son.
The transfer effect of that is profound.
It is.
Yeah.
And you know what else they do? They meditate swing. So Nelson gets on the swing. And Marcus says to Nelson, okay, we're going to meditate swing. So Marcus closes his eyes.
And
Nelson closes his eyes.
It was Nelson's idea first. This
was
wasn't
it?
my idea to Nelson.
Oh.
Nelson said, Dad, shut your eyes. And so he was swinging with his eyes shut, and I'd shut my eyes, and I'd try and time my hand to keep pushing him with my eyes shut. And then it became, I started going, like I'm swinging. He's the, like the Tibetan thing spinning around. And it was great. So now we do it all the time.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Marcus, we love you. You're my other brother.
Of course.
But you are such an inspiration. I know you'll probably think that your movie is just a movie, but seriously, it is life-changing. And I think you're right about particularly a lot of men out there that don't express their emotions.
And that, it's funny, you go online, there's so many women in this sort of, who are pushing this barrow. And there's not many blokes.
No, there's not.
Actually,
You're
there's one
right.
interesting guy in Scotland, Richard Hamilton, I think his name is. Yeah. He's interesting to follow. Anyway.
It's so good to get our men woken up.
Yeah, it is. Oh. It is. It's about waking them up.
Which is why the masturbation point was very important. They'll hook in on that one.
Well, now I think that's a wonderful note to end the podcast on.
Right. I'll just go and relieve myself.
Oh, yeah, so I don't know what women are supposed to do. This is just for blokes.
So now we need to start the podcast all over again.
Because for women, it might be every day. I don't know. It might be 3 times a day. Maybe it's 3 times a day instead of 3 times a week.
Would you like to know? Well, thank you for joining us, Marcus. It's been such a treat and such an honour to be in the company of Cyndi's brother, and such an insightful soul that's just, you're like a breath of fresh air. So thank you for sharing yourself with us.
Thank you.
It's been uber awesome. We hope that you guys have enjoyed this podcast today. Go to our Facebook page at allthews.facebook.com/up-for-a-chat and post your comments and tell us how much you love Marcus. Oh, yeah, baby. And put those little love hearts next to
Let
it.
us know if your husbands agree with what he's suggesting every 2 or 3 days. Let's just see.
Well, no, you don't have to masturbate. The girls can help.
Oh.
It's not just, I'm not talking about masturbation. I'm just talking about ejaculating. So you got to ejaculate 3 times. How you ejaculate doesn't matter. It can be what you were talking about.
There's a lot of women out there that'll actually be thinking, let him do it himself. We're quite happy with it. However,
let's get this up on Facey. Let's get this on Facebook and see what's going on out there. Oh, this is going to be an interesting comment thread. Don't hold back, girls. Your secrets are safe with us.
Especially on Facebook.
And all of Facebook, yes. You can also post your comments on allthewellnesscouch.com/up-for-a-chat, but I wouldn't be posting too much about ejaculation there because everybody's going to be seeing it, not like Facebook. And join us here next week at the same time, on the same station, at the same channel, and join us here on Up for a Chat and become part of the ripple effect that's changing the world. We're going to enjoy seeing you on the ride. Bye for now.
This has been a production of TheWellnessCouch.com. Check us out on Facebook and join in the conversation on Facebook.com/TheWellnessCouch. Subscribe to each show on iTunes and check us out on Twitter. The Wellness Couch, streaming wellness into your lives.
Whilst the Wellness Couch presenter endeavor to provide accurate and helpful information to their listeners, these podcasts cannot take into account individual circumstances and are not intended to be a substitute for health and medical advice from a qualified health professional. You should always seek the advice of a qualified health professional before acting on any of the information provided by any of the Wellness Couch podcasts.